From has been giving us one more season of growing mysteries without really providing any significant information about the reasons behind the mysterious occurrence at Trumville. But in season 3, episode 8, Victor was finally able to remember the exact details of the interaction between a late ventriloquist and his toy puppet, which might just be crucial in understanding how the monsters at Trumville came into being. On the other side, Fatima still struggled with the symptoms of pregnancy despite learning that there was no baby inside her womb, and as if taken over by the demonic entity, she had killed Tilly in the greenhouse, and she and Ellis have to deal with the consequences of the action now. Welcome back everyone, this will be my from episode 8 video, so we will break it all down. If you are new to this channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the videos, and watch out for spoilers if you haven't seen the episode yet. Let's get into the video. Although episode 8 begins by focusing on Fatima's situation right after she had accidentally killed Tilly in the colony house, the Matthews family shone in a few minutes later, returning to their home in Trumville. While Jim, Tabitha and Ethan were away at the hut in the forest, where they spent the night, Julie was at the clinic so that she did not have to stay all by herself at the house. As all the family members return home, Jim once again tries to convince his wife that she might be connecting matters that are actually unrelated. He still does not believe that Tabitha actually saw the totems or statues in the forest during her childhood nightmares, and is quite sure that her scared and troubled brain is making her remember things incorrectly. But as Tabitha does not pay much heed to him once again, Jim tells her about the mysterious phone calls that he has been getting for some time. The calls were seemingly made by the monsters, pretending and claiming to be the couple's dead son Thomas, and their purpose was clearly to torment Jim. As Jim tells Tabitha about the phone calls, she too is shocked at the development, with her husband revealing that some evil entity at the place must know exactly who they are and how to hurt them the most. The loss of their youngest child still has a strong effect on both Jim and Tabitha, and so the very mention of the child is quite traumatic to them even now, months after the incident. Jim mentions the incident solely to make Tabitha realize that they must stay united against whatever the evil monster is trying to hurt them and playing with their minds, and therefore he wants her not to go off on risky adventures by herself anymore. Tabitha seems to understand and perhaps even agree, but before any more can be discussed, there is a knock on the door. Sara had been looking for Tabitha upon the orders of Victor's, and so the woman has to leave, making Jim all the more frustrated with their situation. This is when Jim decides to walk up to the bar in town and have a confrontation with Jade, not caring about the fact that Henry is also present at the place. He gives Julie the responsibility of looking after Ethan, just like before, and storms off to the bar to have an argument with Jade. In the previous episode, Jim was already at the hut in the forest looking for food supplies with the rest of the team, when Tabitha and Ethan went there accompanied by Jade. Therefore, Jim assumed that it must have been Jade who had convinced his wife and son to travel to the forest with him. This is what makes Jim extremely angry, and he even lays his hands on Jade, threatening the man to never put his family members in danger ever again. Jade obviously fights back, stating that Tabitha had come to him herself, had recognized the sketches he had made of the statues, and had then asked to be taken to the spot so that she could see them. Jade rightly reminds Jim that his wife is not a child who can be controlled by his orders and demands, and also tells him to have a conversation with Tabitha directly if there is any problem between themselves instead of involving him in it. The angry argument between the two men does not have any significant outcome, but as Henry sits and listens to it while having a number of drinks, he can provide some insight to Jim in the end. Henry states that he too used to think at one point in time many years ago that his wife, Miranda, had been making up things and connecting unrelated matters out of sheer imagination. When Miranda first told her husband about the children in the tower and the visions that she was getting, Henry had also dismissed her thoughts, just like Jim is trying to do with Tabitha at the moment. Yet, it all turned out to be true, and Henry lost his wife forever along with his children. Therefore, he wants Jim against trying to use his logic to stop his wife and suggests that he instead have faith in Tabitha. In the previous episode, Julie and Randall had driven away from the town to come across some ruins, which immediately made both of them feel unnatural. There was seemingly some power associated with that place, and while Randall was able to pull back from the attraction of it, Julie was drawn in, and she wanted to go and explore the place. It was because of Randall that they got away from the ruins. Yes, he was sure that it would end up hurting them in some way. But the memory of the place is still very fresh in Julie's mind. Before returning home from the clinic, she sees Randall and tries to talk about the place once again, with him still believing that no good can come from exploring the ruins. Julie seemingly pushes the thought away for some time. But then, when she is left alone by her parents, with the responsibility of looking after her brother thrust upon her, she changes her mind. Thus, Julie heads away from the town, taking Ethan with her, in search of the ruins once again, so that she can explore them and find out their nature and purpose. Standing just before the ruins, where she had already been with Randall, Julie asks Ethan about his opinion on what she should do, suggesting that situation was like the ones that Ethan keeps reading about his superhero stories. Young Ethan feels that this is like a threshold moment for Julie, and although it might be very scary and dangerous to take this step and enter the ruins, she should do it just because it's a heroic act that could lead to a number of problems getting solved for the townsfolk. Julie already wanted to explore the ruins as the power held inside it had attracted her since the very first time she had been seen it. And so with Ethan's permission, she does not waste any further time. But as Julie steps into the ruins, she is immediately transported to different space inside the same chamber where she, Randall and Mary were trapped back in season 2. The experience is very painful for her at present as well, as she sees her own self chained to the wall and screaming. But Julie still walks further into the place only to find an old man trapped in a similar manner. This old man is indeed Martin, whom Boyd had met back in season 2, and he now asks Julie to simply throw a child into a nearby well. She does so, and it is shockingly revealed that Boyd was trapped inside the well. Thus, this is some sort of a time loop, and Julie at present helps Boyd escape the well in the past. Before more about this strange time loop can be revealed though, Julie is pulled back from this altered reality, for in her own reality, she had only been having terrible confusions since stepping into the ruins. Therefore, either had run back to the town for help, and now some of the townsfolk rescue Julie from her visions, bringing her back to reality. Victor had already reached Sara's house in the previous episode, telling her that he needed to be in basement of the place in order to make the toy puppet Jasper speak. However, he is unable to do so by himself and starts throwing his usual childlike tantrums, eventually demanding that Sara go and bring Tabitha to the place as well. This is because Tabitha and Victor had been together inside the underground tunnels when Victor had seen Jasper for the first time as an adult, and so he assumes that she might have some way to make it talk. Tabitha joins the struggle soon, and she and Sara eventually helped Victor remember exactly what had happened on the day when he had seen Jasper speak to Christopher. Although Jasper does not start talking magically, Victor realizes that it was never meant to do so, for he had been remembering things incorrectly. On that particular day, during his childhood at Fromville, Victor had seen Christopher speak to someone at the basement of the church, and when Tabitha and Sara take him to the same spot at present, he realizes that it was not Jasper whom the ventriloquist had been speaking to. It was instead the mysterious boy in white, and Victor eventually remembers the whole conversation between the boy and Christopher. Apparently, the boy in white had told Christopher about the sad fate of a group of children who were seemingly betrayed by their own loved ones and murdered mercilessly for some unknown reasons. When these children were laid to rest on the rocks, their souls still had a hope of surviving somehow, which they had developed during their short and difficult lives. And this hope magically made a tree grow at the spot, which turned out to be the faraway trees. The boy in white told Christopher that he should go help the children by stepping through the faraway trees and rescuing the kids trapped in the trouble. But the ventriloquist refused to believe any of these claims, and he instead called the boy liar. Perhaps because Christopher too had been harsh or hurtful towards some children in his own life. Going by this information that Victor suddenly remembers, the mystery of Fromville and the emergence of these devastating monsters are all linked to the sad fate of some children who had been hurt and betrayed by those they trusted most. As young Victor listened to the whole conversation on that day, and so Christopher refused to help, he returned home and told his mother about everything. Thus, it was because of this report that Miranda left her children in town and ventured out towards the lighthouse to save the children. However, how exactly this revelation fit into the overall scheme of things remains to be seen. and we will hopefully learn more in the last couple of episodes of from Season 3. After Fatima accidentally murders Tilly at Colony House, she is immediately taken away from the place and sheltered by Boyd at a small shack away from town. An investigation into the murder is also begun, and Sara is considered to be the perpetrator by most people, including Donna. Boyd and Elin try to keep Fatima's crime a secret for quite some time, before eventually having to tell Donna about what had actually happened, and the woman is furious at Boyd, stating that he must tell everyone in town the truth. However, Boyd continues to back Fatima, since she is now part of his family, and prepares for Elise and her to hide out away from town for next few days. While this is happening, Fatima is left alone at the shack, though, and this is when different development takes place in town. Elin had seemingly started to receive indirect orders from the ghostly woman through the camera he had found, and the object now leads him on a dangerous path to extract his own blood and store it in a plastic bag. Through the photographs taken by the camera all by itself, Elin is then led to Fatima's hiding spot, and he brings her over to underground shelter he had earlier found. Once again, with the help of the camera, essentially Elin seems to have been turned into a slave or minion of the monsters, and he forcefully traps Fatima in the shelter, stating that it is very important for her to give birth. The young man also reveals that there is indeed a baby growing inside Fatima, except it isn't a human being, suggesting that it is surely a monster. As of now, it is unclear whether Elin has been completely turned against the humans, or whether this is indeed some technique to save the townsfolk from the dangers. It might be that Fatima has to be sacrificed for the sake of everyone else, and so Elin does not hesitate to lock her up in the underground shelter. However, this is a terrible situation for the woman, Ellis and Boyd, and the men will surely go searching for her. Whether they can rescue Fatima from Elgin and whatever is growing inside her body remains to be seen, as From gradually prepares for an explosive ending to Season 3. Thanks.